All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Thursday. Mike Carver along with Doug Kezirian as we get you ready for all of tonight's action. We got a big night here. Lots of college basketball, including a heavy hitter game in the Big Ten. We have a huge NBA slate, a huge NHL slate. Got some other things that will probably dip the toe in the water as well. Very, very busy, but I have to start today. And no, not about my flag football team, like I was telling Doug and Max about before, my daughter's team. But no, Doug, we're going to start with how hot you've been, my man, again last night. Feeling it. I wish I could have held up my end of the bargain, but you did.
Well, it got a little hairy. Russ, right out of the gates, 3 rebounds and 14 or 16 shot attempts in the first quarter. But then Russ didn't get anything much in the second quarter. I realized, okay, this could be a no fourth quarter DNP, which ended up being the case. But he did get a couple quick rebounds in the third. So thank God. Yeah, no, look, Westbrook is kind of one of those weird guys where he's sort of predictable, but he's not. So if you get the stars to align, like that double-double, 10-1, 11-1 was within striking distance if Kings had just put up a fight.
Now, put that first one back up there in the chat box from the great Kyle Andrew that you put at the bottom there, because I'm not going to lie to you. And I did not talk to Kyle. He does not know this information. I don't think I told Doug either. I was between Utah and Buffalo for my daily double pick last night. I really liked the Sabres in Jersey against the Devils. But because I guess, Doug, maybe because we've been feeling it a little bit lately, I was like, oh, let me take the plus money with Utah at home against Colorado. I was kind of feeling it too much. I should have played it maybe a little safer and to pick the Sabres, who I maybe liked a little bit more, but I was trying to thump the chest a little bit, Doug, and it kind of got the best of me.
Well, I mean, no, I think you got a little derailed by an NBA play that went wrong, and you all of a sudden aborted Mikey Buckets, and I think you should have stuck with it. I think your NBA reads were good.
And let me tell you something else. If it wasn't the first night of the NHL being back, because I felt good about doing NHL, I was going to go with Cal against SMU late night. I really liked that Cal play, and they ended up, of course, getting an outright win for Cal. So it is what it is. I still had a couple things that were good. We clean the slate, and we get going tonight here on a Thursday.
But I'll say this. One of our, Steve from Lynn, tweeting at us last night. The streak is incredible, but I watch the show because I like it. I have a job and family. No chance I can bet on my own as effectively, and it's cool when Doug calls the script. And then he talks about the day show being great, but they said it's not really about the daily double. It's about going through all the games and giving everyone sort of, we're like the chief of staff to like each of our audience members. We hand them the data points that they need to know, and they can go make their own decisions on their own. But we share what we're doing, but we at least bring them up to speed. We're the right-hand man of all the bettors.
And I do appreciate Steve and the others. They've sent some really nice comments the last couple of days about our show, and we appreciate that here on Betting Weekly Live and Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. So thank you very much for that. The under on the Maple Leafs Lightning, and you're right, Diego, that was one that I really liked. It went from a layup, and it was a sweat at the end. It was 2-0 with like 12 minutes left in the third period. It ended on 6, but we still got there. The under 6.5. You needed the slider there for that. I think maybe tonight is the Avalanche go against. Well, we will discuss that when we get to hockey later on. Back-to-back for Colorado with the Minnesota Wild coming in. I've had good nights watching your shows even without the Daily Double. Thank you, MT Smith. We appreciate that very much. Let's get
we got the ladies. The ladies got there. Indiana was down all game and somehow covered 9.5. I think they led by 10 at the very end for the first time all game. And then what do you know? USC outright losers is a 14.5 point favorite. Did we not tell you this team was ripe for the flat spot? They got UCLA on deck. By the way, UCLA is going to bury them. I'm very curious what the point spread is going to be.
Yeah, that's this weekend, right, Doug? They're playing this weekend, that matchup. Let's start tonight, though, with the NBA, because we have 10 games in the NBA on a Thursday, which is very nice. And we have the Prime Video doubleheader, which starts in Orlando as the Rockets and the Magic get together. The Magic, of course, coming back from a long West Coast trip out of the All-Star break. They take on Houston this evening. Right now, at Bet Rivers, I've got Rockets minus 2.5 here. Excuse me, 3.5 now. Rockets minus 3.5, 215.5 the total.
Yeah, I actually think it's the right side. It's a really fascinating handicap. Orlando dropped that game in Phoenix, really tough game, and then they threw the kitchen sink at the Clippers, eked it out, and then the next night they got the Lakers. They were hanging around all game, 6-point dogs. I just couldn't. I looked at that line. The total was 228.5. And then the Magic won outright because LeBron and Luka couldn't figure out the last possession. And then also a game goes under. So I just think I'm a big gas tank guy. So what do I mean by that? I honestly think, we talked about the NBA Cup. Remember, the Knicks had that run, and then they couldn't cover for the next 10 games. I just think they overdid themselves, and they had to regroup. We've seen teams, there's flat spots, there's sandwich spots. There's also just like the team has nothing in their legs. Look at the Celtics last night. At the end of this long road trip in altitude, they had nothing. They had nothing. They had 35 points in the second half. Missoula pulled everyone. Go back to last Saturday, okay? You had Houston at home with that game that went, they were just couldn't make anything, but it was a dogfight of a game, right? And then Kansas didn't show up against Cincy. Well, who was the fresher team second half come Monday? It was Kansas, right? They didn't expend any energy, whereas Houston had a hard-fought game. So I just think the Rockets, yes, it's back-to-back, but the Rockets had a scrimmage yesterday with the Kings, okay? Durant, they literally left him open to go double-team Jeff Green in the post. Durant just like shooting practice. And that was the Kings on a back-to-back, so that game was over before it started. I just think the Magic, after 2 dogfight games, travel back home. So it's a Malinsky special after a 3-game West Coast trip. I just don't know what Orlando's going to have in the tank. And they're a much different team without Jalen Suggs. So I'm on the under here. Now, the Rockets, we talked about them 21-4 to the under since the new year, but the last 2 games have snuck over the total. But those were double-digit spreads, right? Utah and Houston. And a much different game flow than this one's going to be. I think this is going to be a dogfight. Now, I don't love either of these two because I think the line's about right. But if I had to play it, I would play Houston in the under.
Yeah, and look, the Magic, as you say, coming back the Malinsky special off the long West Coast trip, and they played some unders on that trip too. You look at some of these games. You mentioned the other day the Laker total was way too high with the Magic and the Lakers. So 215.5 this evening for the Rockets in Orlando, where it's beautiful and 85 today. The late game on Prime Video, Timberwolves in LA against the Clippers. T-Wolves -8.5, 222.5 the total.
All right, so we're getting some steam on this game. It looks like the Clippers have some injury updates. This went from 5.5 to 8.5 because a guy who's no stranger to missing games, Kawhi Leonard, is out tonight. So now it's a lot of Mathurin, a lot of Chris Dunn, a lot of Derek Jones Jr., a lot of John Collins, Jordan Miller, Batum, Splash Mountain, Brooke Lopez starting at center. And the Timberwolves got a big win. Remember, they laid the egg without Gobert and lost as a double-digit favorite, I believe, to Philly. Got blown out by 20-something. Then they go to Portland, get the win. We had the first quarter, remember, and they hung on for a 3-point win. McDaniels had a monster game. I think this is going to be a slugfest for the Clippers. I really think they're going to muck this up. I think this is an underplay here. I just think 8.5 is too. We talked about it, the T-Wolves. This is the reason I don't trust the T-Wolves to win it all. I don't care about their best. Their floor is too low. So I think they're going to give away games, and basically they're going to force themselves to win 5 out of 7. I just don't think they can survive the West in that situation. They're too unreliable, too inconsistent. I think you develop good habits over the course of the season. That's what Michael Jordan would always say about load management. The regular season isn't something you're just trying to survive. You're trying to get better and develop good habits and be at your best come playoff time. And that's what the team like the T-Wolves, it's just not an on-off switch. They'll be great in some games. Like they'll win at OKC outright in some games, but I don't think they're polished enough. And I think this is an example of how the Clippers plus 8.5 off back-to-back losses. This will be, I think, a game where they show up. Now, Minnesota maybe just have too much talent, but I think this LA flu and all that stuff, I can't support the T-Wolves here.
I agree with you. You cannot trust them laying 8.5 here. You just can't do it. You can't. Now, look, of course, there's a chance they go out and win this game by 17 tonight. Yeah, because the talent's there and they should. But there's just too many examples this season of them like they'll win this game by 4 tonight, or 5. It's just kind of that's how their season has gone so far.
They're basically the J-Lo of the NBA. Like
J-Lo.
They keep thinking they figured it out, and when every time she gets married and stuff, it's like no. It's like no. It's they're the team you break up with, and keep getting back together. You think it's going to work this time? It's not. Just don't. You cannot. The couple wasn't made to last.
Don't do it. Don't do it. There you go for Prime Video. Let's do the rest of the slate. Lakers Suns tonight. We have this is just after 9 o'clock East. Lakers -5.5, 222.5 is the total. And I think the topic, Doug, has to be the offense for the Suns, because 3 of the last 4 games they've gone under 100 points, and the 4th game they needed 2 overtimes just to get over 100 points. What's going on with the O?
So I texted a couple odds makers, like, how are you playing the Suns? I just think they're missing, obviously, Booker. They're missing Dylan Brooks, and then another guy I'm blanking on. So a backup point guard. So I just think they just don't have the firepower, right? We always thought that, and we always were amazed at what they were getting done because the sum of the parts is better than whatever, that whole thing. I just think you take out they've been a Jenga puzzle the entire season, right? So every time you remove a piece, it's still standing upright. Well, finally, Goodwin was the last guy. Once Dylan Brooks and Goodwin came out, the whole Jenga thing fell apart. So I just don't know what kind of offense we're going to get out of them. But the flip side is it's the Lakers as well. We have the wind horse, the Windy, like the W. Like what do we make of this? Windy on First Take said the Lakers are a great team when it's Luka and Austin Reeves. They are a bad team when it's Luka, Reeves, and LeBron. So the end of the game, Luka passed to LeBron off balance. They kind of pouted each other in the post game. They've lost back-to-back games. They got punked by the Celtics, blew the game against Orlando. I'm very curious to what this game looks like. I think the Lakers probably cover because they have to. But this Suns team could have just open threes. I mean, Royce O'Neal, Gillespie, Grayson Allen's expected to play. And they play hard. The bigs get loose balls. Luka's still kind of – I'm out on Luka in a lot of ways. Like, I don't – honestly, Dallas, if Nico Harrison wasn't such an idiot, he would be revered if they traded him for like 7 pick swaps. What if they got Austin Reeves and – AD and Max Christie and picks and first round picks? It'd be a heist. Reeves would still be going for 40 a night, or some of those games would be 40 a night. Because trading Luka might have been the greatest thing ever. Like, question is, do you think Luka ever wins a title? I don't.
I don't either.
So who are the best players? Like Karl Malone and Barkley. Like, what about like guys that just never sort of panned out? Because I think Barkley and Karl Malone certainly panned out. They just had a Michael Jordan problem. Yeah. And I don't think this is like a Wemby problem for Luka. I just think his defense is so bad. And I just curious, like, who are some of the guys over the years that have always finished like 5th in the MVP just because they're so good at scoring and like, things like that. Because I've been pretty disappointed with him. I didn't realize – what happened is Dallas structured the perfect team around him. When they got Gafford and PJ Washington at the deadline, Luka's back. When they got those guys and they made the finals run, I didn't realize how perfect the defensive structure needs to be around Luka for him to shine. Because it wasn't really Kyrie, it was all the other pieces, and that was a really good team. And I don't know if they're ever going to get there. So he's like kind of like a James Harden, right? Like, he's kind of that now. Harden won MVP, although I think less of the people who voted for him that year, because it was down between LeBron and Kawhi. And it's like, what are we doing? One guy plays 2 guys play defense, one doesn't. Like, how is this guy even getting a vote in this competitive race?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know who the comp is. It's crazy though.
It is
Westbrook, maybe. I don't know. Is it Westbrook? But Westbrook played D and tries hard, and that's different.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if Luka doesn't do that.
It's just there are more warts than you think, and I think that's what the Westbrook parallel is.
I think the stuff you were mentioning about Wendy's pretty interesting. Because
and the gloves are off, right? As soon as LeBron called out Wendy on the McAfee show, it's
So I guess that means, and obviously this is more like down the road, bigger picture stuff. I guess that means that the retirement tour is going to be somewhere else next year, Doug. I would have to think the retirement tour is going to be somewhere
Yeah,
else.
I heard some people predicting, and it's just fans predicting, but Golden State, I can see that with Steph, Draymond, California is close enough.
Oh my goodness. Lakers 5.5. I do agree with you on this under though. You got a team that doesn't score 100 points the last 4 games, and it's 222.5. I understand it's the Lakers. I understand the games can get, but the Lakers just played the under with Orlando too the other night. So I like that under with you, Doug. We'll go there.
Yeah, I mean, Suns aren't going to score like 85 every game, right?
No,
but
they're going to bust out.
You just need a 110, 102 game kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's all you need. Elsewhere tonight, the Spurs and Wemby in Brooklyn against the Nets. 10.5-point road favorite here, 224.5. Everybody in Brooklyn very excited to see Wemby tonight. One of those rare nights where the Barclays Center will be jumping.
Yeah, I'm assuming he plays because they had a dog fight of a game last night. Look, they've won 10 straight. They keep coming back. They've been impressive. I mean, can I bet Brooklyn? No, I cannot. Now, I think Porter Jr. is going to go off. He 3.5 threes, overs plus 123. He might have one of those games because I think the Spurs sort of bring it out of everyone, right? And I don't think there's going to be many people attacking the rim with Wemby lurking. And I think it's going to be a target practice for so Porter Jr. over 3.5 comes to mind. In terms of the spread, I think it's silly to do a money line parlay. It's not a free, anything can happen at NBA. The line's too high, but the Nets are so bad. So bad. Like the guys I used to like on that roster are gone. Obviously, Porter Jr. can be productive, but he's not that sweet. Okay. The bigs I kind of like. But Troy Aore and all these guys, like they're just going to probably get drilled. They've been really bad.
Yeah. And you get those nights where and it's just common for them where they lose by like 30 or 40. Like it's so common.
I mean, January 4th, they somehow beat the Nuggets. So since then, in a month and a half, they have 4 wins, but those 4 wins have been the Wizards, Jazz, and Bulls twice.
Man, how bad are the Bulls? Lose twice to the Nets.
Really bad.
Over the last couple of months. Lose twice to the Nets. Can we do the Wemby thing now that you were going to talk about with the future?
Yeah, I just think Wemby at this point you have to bet them. So I think with the way the Thunder are headed, and we don't know about SJEA's injury, the Spurs are 2 games back for the number 1 overall seed, and they obviously have the tiebreakers, as we know. So I think Wemby 20-1. Now, tons of variables with games missed. He's hanging on by a thread in terms of eligibility.
How many more does he have?
I don't know. I mean, I can look at while I'm talking to you, but
yeah,
you're allowed to miss 17 games, but they've been monitoring his minutes. He subs out a lot. So, I mean, that's part of it is like they're babying him along the way and they're deep. So he's missed 14. Okay. So he can miss 3 more, which I think he'll be fine. And I've talked about Wemby for 100-1, 50-1, 30-1. I think you just still have to pull the trigger at 20-1. Because a lot of the times, and we saw this with Drake May, a lot of times these voters get reluctant and gun shy to vote for a guy who's sort of new to the party, right? Because they don't want egg on their face down the road. Like Derrick Rose, although he was injury related, like he shouldn't have won, in my opinion, whatever. Drake May, like every voter who voted for Stafford is so thankful that they did it because they were likely on the fence or whatever. And Drake May just kind of looked terrible. So the last thing you want is buyer's remorse if you're a voter. So it's voter's remorse. I think Wemby surpasses that. And
I agree.
He passes the smell test. Like, I don't think someone's going to be, when you're putting in your hand, you're dropping the ballot and you're hesitating and you don't want to let go. I don't think it's any of that. I think they know that Wemby's legit, the real deal, all that stuff. I don't think there's reluctance, even though there shouldn't be. And we should just look at the MVPs, like who had the best season, not who's the best player. But there was so much, pushback and vitriol when Embiid won and was sucked in the playoffs or whatever. I think Wemby's the smell test is fine.
He's going to probably win multiple MVPs.
Of course.
So I agree that that should not be a reason why somebody does not vote for him. But you're right. People do it. People do that when they fill out those ballots at the end. Pelicans and Jazz tonight. We always love when the Pelicans and the Jazz get together. -7 for New Orleans. That's a 244.5.
Yeah, this is payback for taking their mascot or their team name, right? The Jazz used to be in New Orleans.
Yep.
So New Orleans is interesting because they just brought in DeJounte Murray. Okay, so they actually have a real team right now. This is the team that they had, and the coaching staff wants to keep their job. This is like, I mean, look who they have in the starting lineup now. No Trey Murphy, which is too bad, but this team's kind of loaded with DeJounte Murray, Herb Jones, Zion, and Derek Queen. Like that's a core that you want to build around.
And how about, I saw this last night, Zion, longest streak of his career. He's played in 33 consecutive games, the longest streak he's ever had since he's been in the NBA. And you know what? Hat tip to Murray too, Doug, because look, the NBA, rightfully so, gets a very bad rap with their guys in terms of load management and not wanting to play and sitting guys and taking nights off. I watched Murray the other day when he came back at practice. He's just like, listen, I get paid to play. I'm ready. I'm healthy. They could have sat me the rest of the year. I want to go out there and play. It's nice to hear somebody in the NBA say that.
And they have nice pieces off the bench. Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma, Jordan Poole, who I don't like, but at least he's, give him 15 minutes. And then Sadiq Bey, who's awesome, I think. He's really underutilized. 3-and-D guy from, by way of Atlanta. So Murray, he played like 23 minutes in the last game. So that would have me concerned on his prop of 24.5 PRA. So that's part of the equation as well. Now, on the flip side, the Utah Jazz, get this. They had an issue with Markkanen's health. They had an MRI. So the NBA was going to send a league official to sit in on this to make sure, and that they pulled that. But the Jazz do have to send sort of proof of MRI to the team to make sure they're not completely tanked. I mean, this is like, you don't turn in your homework, and now like your parents just like lurking over your head while you do your homework to make sure everything gets done and everything. It's pretty ridiculous. But so the no Markkanen and no Keontae George tonight. Okay, so that's big. So you're looking at a lot of Bryce Sensabaugh, a lot of Isaiah Collier, a lot of Filipowski. So, but again, the Pelicans aren't exactly a well-oiled machine. It's altitude. It's 7's probably right. I would lay it before I took it, but I'll tell you what, there's been 5 games this year with Bryce Sensabaugh in the lineup for Utah when there's been no Markkanen and no Keontae George. He's averaged 19.4 points in those games, 7 attempts from 3 with 3.2 makes. So getting over 2.5 plus a quarter, plus 125 is probably a very good bet. It was plus 138 earlier at Bet Rivers. It's now plus 125. I think that's probably a really good bet. The problem is you might get only 7 attempts. You got to make 3 of them. So it's right there on the number.
Yeah. And I did see that put up in the chat box down there. The Pelicans don't have their first round pick this year. So yes, they can.
Right. Unprotected for Derek Queen. That was the big trade it's just crazy that like people will make these deals and not even think to ask for protection like Atlanta. So Atlanta's sitting there with New Orleans' unprotected pick in like one of the greatest drafts too.
Yeah, it's just a lot of talent that are going to be in this draft coming up in June. All right, let's go next to the Blazers and the Bulls. Yes, we have to. Portland's in Chicago against the Bulls tonight. -4 for them. 234.5 the total tonight.
So I don't understand this. Portland, their 2 best sort of scorers are out.
Right.
Avdia, who I love, everybody knows that, and Shaedon Sharpe. So you got a lot of defense that plays with Drew Holiday, who's a good shooter. Kamara, Tybal gets a lot of run. Jeremy Grant, Klingon. I mean, I'm not saying they can't score, but you don't have automatic buckets. They do have one off the bench, Krejci, who came from Atlanta in that trade. But Scoot Henderson, for the most part, is not good. But once in a while, he'll get hot and attack. I mean, obviously, uber athletic. It's just a lot. Sissoko plays a lot. The Time Lord plays. So that's just a huge number. And then the Bulls, they've changed their sort of makeup and no more Kobe White, obviously. So yes, Bazelis could go off. Giddey's still playing, but they start Yabusele, Okoro. I mean, those guys are rebounders and defenders. Yes, Trey Jones will get some runs. Sexton, Patrick Williams is out tonight, but we're not trying to go under 214.5, 234.5. So I have to go under.
It does seem like a lot. Not going to disagree. 234.5. The Bulls have been dreadful. I mean,
yeah, I think they've had enough with our mocking of them always being in the play-in. So they're going to play their way to the lottery this time.
Let's go. Get the ping pong balls going. Heat in Philly against the Sixers tonight. Sixers right now at Bet Rivers -3, 239.5. Another big total.
Yeah, but I think there's more firepower. We know this Philly team likes to get up and down. Miami's the highest scoring team in the first quarter and first half, I would say. So they want to get up and chuck and duck, or actually they call it the pace and space, a while ago. I think that was what the LeBron days, Spoelstra called it that. So that's a team that has the cogs and the makeup and the style. That just shows you why, like Portland, Chicago, like 5 points fewer, right? Like that doesn't make sense. So I think this Miami Philly is a little, is more on point. But man, I'm not in a rush to bet the overs, So like, what have we learned so far, with the All-Star break? Like these teams there's some rhythm that's just not there yet with some of these teams. But the Sixers were just in a high-scoring game. With Minnesota, at least they were high scoring, but he want to get up and down. So I'd avoid this game. Miami's playing a little better. I just still don't trust them. They're kind of annoying to bet on. But I think there's just a lot of intriguing games. That's not one of them, but it's intriguing. Like I'm curious what the result's going to be because I love also Maxey. He's just been excellent this year. He's trying to be like all NBA first team almost.
My Hornets are on the road in Indiana against the Pacers. They're almost back to 500, 28-31. They have slowly clawed their way back, and they're laying 13 in Indiana, 229.5. They're actually 0-2 straight up against the Pacers this year. That's 2 of the Pacers' 15 wins are against the Hornets.
Hats off to the Pacers. They're not messing around. Okay. They led Philly the other night after the first quarter, 38-30. And, come on. Indiana's like, come on, what are we doing here? They let Philly start the second quarter, 17-0 run. I had to look. I wasn't sure. They were not playing make it, take it. I was just checking to see if that was the case because you don't really see a 17-0 run. And there was something kind of like the NBA sending a league official out. What did Rick Carlisle got fined for something?
Yeah.
Basically, they wanted him to check on something. Oh, here it is. Something about the league lawyer was doing an interview, kind of wanted something. Oh, gosh. And Rick Carlisle was like, are you kidding me? He like declined and they fined him $100,000.
Yeah, it's really become nonsense, all of this stuff. See, they're really after the Pacers and the Jazz. Those are the two that they seem to really be going after with
it's
this.
like in Office Space when they send in the Bobs, the kind of efficiency experts,
what would you say
right?
you do around here? What would you say you do?
They're coming, they're checking in on things. They're going under the hood for both the Pacers and Jazz.
We always love these same two teams, same city, for the second game in a row. Of course, I had this game as the daily double the other night. The Wizards and the Hawks in Atlanta. I played that over. It was 235.5. Of course, they came nowhere close because the Wizards didn't show up. Well, here we go again. Hawks -10, 236 this time. It went up a half, even though it was a dead under the other
adjustment.
night.
Well, that's because maybe a little regression of the shooting. Was it bad shooting? What were we looking at?
I did not watch. When I saw them score like 40 points in the first half, I let it go after that. I just decided to go away.
The problem is the Wizards roster is just not good.
Yeah,
in that game, the Hawks only shot 24% from 3 and 39% from the field, and they still won by 21. So, but Jalen Johnson, I believe, is out, if I'm not mistaken, and he's obviously an excellent defender.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets his buckets too, but he's a stud defender.
He's out.
Was he this good at Duke, by the way? I don't remember. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker may be out. So I'd probably lay it with Atlanta. The Wizards are really limited. I mean, I like some of their guys, Bub Carrington and all, but they're not good. They're not good.
And the last one I've got for you, I know you're excited for the Kings again after their performance last night. They're in Dallas against the Mavericks. Mavs -7.5, 234.
I mean, the Mavs are tanking and they're laying 7.5. So that should tell you how bad the Kings are. No Westbrook tonight, by the way.
Oh, so he's getting the night off. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe his triceps sore from 16 shot attempts in the first quarter.
And he was
yesterday.
Firing last night.
Flag is out. PJ Washington is out. Gafford's questionable. Same with Middleton. I think we're going to see Klay Thompson tonight. So we're going to get some Najee Marshall as well. And, I've mentioned him a lot. He's the go-to guy on this team. He's going to have about 17 to 25, but that's when where the props are. So you can't really fire on this. I think the Mavs probably blow them out. Kings are so bad, but I'll give credit. DeRozan's bringing it. They're so bad though.
Got plenty of other things we can bet on tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think the Kings and the Mavericks it just doesn't.
Feels like a high total though, but the defense is really bad.
Porter Jr. ladder the threes. MT Smith.
Spurs are good defensively, and they have those young dudes who are going to play hard no matter what. So they have all those young guys they've drafted on the perimeter that they're just going to kind of annoy the heck out of Porter. So that's what even has me away off the over in general, let alone laddering it.
I guess this is in reference to the Bobs before. Kawhi, why do you miss so many games? I wouldn't say I've been missing them, Bob. I wouldn't the Bobs.
Says here, Peter, you've been missing a lot of work.
Hornets division title plus 500. That we're still on the run for that.
We've given it out 20 to 1, 10 to 1.
A lot of numbers with the Hornets division title. I saw Steve up there before, something with the Suns, I guess, in their division. He's trying to chase that down. I think they're 3 back in the Lakers.
Well,
so that would help him tonight.
My 50 to 1 on the Clippers obviously spiraling after trading Zubac and everything.
Kneppel Rookie of the Year lock with all these games flag is missing.
That's my whole point. It's not who's the best player, it's who's had the best season, and that's why Kneppel, I think, is going to win this thing.
I agree. Carver Doug, best duo in the game. Thank you, Henry.
Bet it.
We
Lock.
appreciate
By the way,
that is put it
Kneppel down to plus 200.
He's going to win.
He's going to win.
Because I think you have had this planned out for weeks now. Once Flag got hurt and the Mavs decided we're putting this in the tank, why would you even play him again? They're not even, he might not play again legitimately. And that is going to hit Kneppel's going to, how long till Kneppel's minus money? Another week and a half?
Right.
2
right.
weeks?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point.
It's coming. NBA tonight, 10 games. Very exciting stuff that we have. All right, let's go to college now. We only have one heavy hitter game, but we love these Thursdays with these mid-majors. There's so many good ones tonight. But we have to, of course, start with the Big Ten. We actually have a really good Big Ten standalone tonight and tomorrow night with Michigan, Illinois tomorrow. But this evening, Michigan State into Purdue, West Lafayette with the Boilermakers minus 7.5, 142.5 the total. This is just after 8 o'clock East on Peacock tonight.
So I originally thought Purdue is going to dust them.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, sorry.
6.5.
Yeah. And then now it's like, okay, line's a little high. And then it came down from 7.5. Ken Palm has 5. It's just a big number, but I don't like this Sparty team at all. I think they're phony. I think they're getting by on Izzo's Final Four runs, but let's remember, he hasn't won since 2000. Not saying that that's anything to sneeze at, or 8 Final Four runs or whatever it is common, because it's certainly special. But I think we need to believe what our eyes have told us. Now, the problem with that is we have to also believe what our eyes have told us about Purdue. And the Boilermakers just aren't that great. Yes, they just dusted Indiana, but the Hoosiers are shaky, revenge angle, all that stuff, right? And we just saw how the revenge angle operated last night with St. John's and all these other teams, right? Gonzaga won by 41, So the revenge angle, so Purdue's not as good as it looked last Saturday against Indiana in the revenge angle in the rivalry. I think Michigan State can muck it up. This probably goes under. And Braden Smith's great, but he's had a lot of turnovers by his standards. It's just not that polished of a Purdue team. And yeah, would I be absolutely stunned if Sparty won outright? No. So that's why I can't lay the 6.5.
Yeah, the Crooked Chef in on Sparty tonight. The Big Ten might not be a conference to trust this March. Well,
depends how you phrase that, because I think at the top, I think they're legit. I think Michigan's really legit.
You trust Michigan. I think you could trust Michigan to have a pretty decent run coming up here. I kind of like Michigan State too, Doug. I think that I do think they're going to muck this game up, and I do think it's going to be of the closer variety, let's say, late in the second half. So I think it's points or nothing for me for Michigan State tonight in West Lafayette. Elsewhere, got one starting actually in about 25 minutes from now, top of the hour, 5 o'clock East, upstate New York at St. Bonaventure as the Rams come in. Rhode Island and the Bonnies, -3.5, 143.5 the total.
All right, so I can't tell you much about this matchup other than I've heard some good things on the under. I think it's come down a point or two, just the way that they kind of like the matchups. And remember, this time of year, end of February into March, we're seeing a lot of rematches, right? It's games that set, revenge angles, all that stuff. The second go around, so in some conference tilts. So we do have sort of the first meeting as a reference point. That's something to keep in mind, and then we'll do coaches adjust and whatnot. So I'm told under is the play here if you're looking for a little afternoon action.
Okay,
afternoon delight under 143.5.
Yes, 143.5 for Rhode Island and the Bonnies. This game caught my eye as well, and I know you had it down, and that's Liberty here this evening. Liberty is at Kennesaw State. Liberty -1.5. Now, Liberty's having a pretty big year, Doug, in Conference USA. I think that they are 23-4. Kennesaw State 16-11. 153.5 is the total. I mean, Liberty's been the better team. Is this a little like, why is this number so low? Should it be a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, and Liberty lost to, a respectable loss against Western Kentucky. So I'm not going to sneeze at that one. The problem is, and we know this, like they're cruising to the Conference USA regular season title. And obviously, they're happy with that, but they want to go dancing. So they're looking ahead to the conference tournament, perhaps, but they're off a loss. So I think they respond here. They won the first meeting by 8, but they were up 13 at the break at home. And this one's on the road. I think this line should have been like 3.5. So it feels a little light.
Okay. I'm gonna go Liberty here tonight at Kennesaw State. Kennesaw's 8-8 in conference. So they're in the kind of upper half of the conference, but right. Liberty's obviously been the class so far this year in CUSA. To the Summit, I know that we're laying off for a little bit, but I got to tell you, Denver overs are back. Doug, just looking at it, the last couple times out, they 162 with St. Thomas. They got on the 160s with Dakota, but this has been dropped 155.5 with Oral Roberts tonight. When they played last month, they scored a cool 180 between the two of them, Denver and Oral Roberts. Are we back here on the Denver
How
overs?
could you? Well, I wouldn't bet under. I'll tell you that first and foremost. I'm not betting under in that game.
20-7 to the over. Still the best in men's college hoops for them at, I guess, 73.1% or something like that, right around there. So I mean, it just feels, seeing it back in the 150s, maybe it's something to consider tonight.
Look, it's ebb and flow to a season. Got to go in, go out. Time to jump in.
Getting involved. Big West Thursdays. We have Mountain West Tuesday and Wednesdays here, and it's Big West Thursdays, and a couple of big games tonight. So Hawaii comes back to the mainland. Now, the pattern has been there now, Doug. This is, I guess, their 4th or 5th trip in conference play. This in the last 2 months. They always have a huge performance in the first game, and they always get smashed in the second game for whatever reason. So they're laying 1.5 at UC Davis tonight. If you follow what they've done so far, it would be tonight Hawaii and then play against them this weekend. They're at Fullerton on Saturday. I'm sure they'll be favorites in that on the road, but that's kind of been the pattern with Hawaii.
A little food for thought. They had a monster comeback on Saturday night that I was itching to chase as I was watching it.
The OT win over the Gauchos.
Yeah. Santa Barbara was the right side, wire to wire. But Hawaii got the win. Do they not make it to the game 2 to lay an egg? Do they lay an egg in maybe the second half here tonight?
Okay. Very possible. And look, Davis not exactly one of the top teams here in the Big West going after. Maybe the number would be a little bit bigger. if it were in that situation. But that's actually not the one I like the most, Doug. The next one's the one that I like. And that is the other two teams that are tied with Hawaii for the top spot right now in the Big West. The Anteaters of UC Irvine and CSU Northridge. Doug, they've won 7 in a row.
Wow.
To pull into a tie with Irvine and Hawaii. They're laying 1.5. Irvine thumped them back in December at their place. They're playing with confidence right now. Northridge, Doug, -1.5 tonight against the Anteaters.
Wow.
I hate going against my Anteaters because I really like Irvine, but Northridge is where I'm rolling this evening.
I'm not going to get in the way of your conviction here.
I feel good about it. The Big West, I've been getting too wrapped up in it on Thursday nights. All these teams. Big total, 155.5 for them tonight, too. So that's that in terms of the college hoops. Grab Florida while they're still 10-1 for back-to-back from MT Smith. You need a little bit more than 10-1 for Florida, Doug?
What about I can't get involved in that. Homie don't play that. We've seen some upsets in the SEC. There's been some. We just saw one last night with Penn State, 14.5-point dog taking out USC. USC was up. I grabbed more in game at like 11.5. That line, it's just the Trojans just can't protect the lead.
So here's Henry here. Can you all, and since we're going to get into the women's side now for tonight,
can
you all explain why LSU women's hoops are -7,000 money line versus Tennessee? Tennessee -7,000 is crazy disrespect. Well, it is an 18.5-point spread there tonight.
You're welcome to bet the dog on the money line. Like, that's the beauty of this is, you got two-way action here. There's no disrespect. If the market says the market,
13-1, something like that for Tennessee money line tonight.
Go for it. Who are we to get in your way?
Didn't Reggie Theus coach there? Is that CSU Northridge? Is that?
I believe he had a cup of coffee there. He obviously played at UNLV. He coached the Sacramento Kings as well. I broke that story. Like the Las Vegas Review-Journal had about 5 guys on that case, and I broke it.
He was also on that TV show, wasn't he? What TV show was Reggie?
Hanging with Mr. Cooper?
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Yes. There you go. Anything else tonight with the women? We do have North Carolina, Virginia, Georgetown, UConn.
So that North Carolina, Virginia game's really interesting because you have UNC with a big look-ahead spot with their next game. They got Duke, the big rivalry game. But Virginia's coming off a buzzer-beating win, 3-pointer at the gun. So I can't get involved in that game. This Vandy, I'll tell you what, this Vandy team is really well coached. Very well coached. But they pulled a game out of nowhere. Like they really shouldn't have won. It was a game that came down to the wire. It was an excellent game. But the Vandy sets, like the sets they run, the coaching, it's very advanced. I was really impressed. But the problem is, their best player is a freshman, and then their point guard who has the ball a lot is also a freshman. So they don't just take over games. They kind of defer into their teammates too much. It's frustrating because they're the best players. I will say this. The Vandy best player, the freshman, she did something, and the coach is smart, whoever the Vandy coach is. So when you're up 2 at the end of a game, and there's like 1.6 seconds left, and you have the second free throw, and they don't have timeouts, you should miss it because – even if you make it and you're up 3, you can't lose. That's like the math that's done. No. You're trying to win the game. So it's a combined probability. So if this goes for the NBA too. Like you miss the free throw, then they're going to have to chuck it full court. Like your chances of winning are way better than like a tie and then going to overtime and the 50% thing. In women's basketball, it's even better because they can't make it full court, right? They can't throw it the whole way like Jokic can or something. But the problem is the Vandy girl did it. She missed it, but she chased the ball as if like you do that when you're down 2 and need the offensive rebound. It's like, no. So she committed the lane violation. So they're just raw is my point. They have the right design of everything. They're doing all the right things. So I don't think I can lay 10.5, but if they had come off a loss, I would definitely, but that I think they played Kentucky. It was a great game that came down to the end, but just shows you how they're on top of things with the 2-for-1s, all that stuff. They're really smartly coached.
Vandy coached by former UConn Husky Shea Ralph. As the head coach of Vandy. Look at that. Got that fast. It came up. The funniest thing ever was when Shaq tried to miss, and then he finally made one. Jern there, getting on Shaq with the free throws for it. All right. Blake's is a soft. Galvin, the point guard, is a frost. Shea Ralph is the coach. Yes, Petey.
Blake's is the stud. Blake's
yes,
is the stud.
Very much so, indeed. The UConn women are minus 36.5. It could be 95-35. You might be right there, Henry. That could be the score of the UConn.
The old Big East. I don't think Ray Allen and Allen Iverson are walking through that door.
My goodness. 29-0 UConn as they head into that game with Georgetown tonight, the number 1 team in women's college hoops. There you go. All right. Of course, if you like what you see here on Betting Weekly Live, as you should, make sure you subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube, where you can check us out and, of course, all of our other shows, including released earlier today. Betting Weekly EPL, Dan Roebuck, Nigel Seeley, and Jack Wright preview match day 28 fixtures, including league-leading Arsenal taking on Chelsea this weekend. That's a big one. Betting Weekly EPL with Dan, Nigel, and Jack. Check it out on the Betting Weekly Studios channel. Subscribe and get involved. All right, hockey, Doug. Last night and tonight. We have 12, that's right, 12 games.
Wow.
In the NHL tonight. It is a big night. There's a lot happening. Now, let me just quickly give you a little synopsis here. You have 8 teams on a back-to-back tonight that played last night. And a very good majority of them are obviously playing a team that has not played their first game back from the Olympics. So there's a slew of them here. You know, the Toronto's in Florida on a back-to-back. The Devils are in Pittsburgh on a back-to-back. Tampa's in Carolina on a back-to-back. We're on the road too, Doug. This is so weird. Flyers are in the Garden on a back-to-back. Kraken in St. Louis. There's only 2 playing each other. Oilers and Kings both played last night. I don't know what to take out of last night, to be quite honest with you. I thought early in the night, it kind of played out the way that I thought it would. Slow going. Teams that didn't have a lot of guys at the Olympics playing well, the Buffalo Jersey game, the Tampa Toronto game, and then, you know, the sun went down and got a little crazy late night. That Vegas King game was nuts, with Vegas scoring 5 goals in the third. The Duck Oiler game, I guess, did get off the rails later on. So it's kind of a tale of 2 nights last night. Got a little crazy late night.
Yeah, I guess just taking a step away from a macro perspective for the teams that aren't necessarily back-to-back, or maybe as well, but what did we learn? Because remember, we had a lot of unknowns coming into the last night, and we were unsure of, you know, how to respond and what betting angles to take for the Olympics and all that. Did you glean any wisdom that you think could be kind of monetized tonight?
I don't think so. I think there's only one game that I'm going to use the same kind of angle, and that was the Buffalo Devil game. I thought the gap between the amount of Devil players and Sabre players was so big that it was worth playing Buffalo. And you have a similar gap in the Boston Columbus game tonight in terms of guys that were there and weren't. The gaps weren't as big in the other games. I mean, Vegas didn't play anybody last night, and they still went in and beat LA. Yeah, there was a lot of unders. That's true. Other than those 2 late night games, everything else stayed under. You know, everything. So you did kind of get the slow going for teams out of the gate. So maybe, Doug, the games with the 2 teams playing first tonight, we look to unders. I have no idea what to do about teams that played last night playing the team that hasn't played yet. I think it's very tough to try to figure it out, because what do you weigh more? Playing a second night, but now having your legs playing a game, or your first time playing out of the break? I don't know what's the bigger thing to look at there with those 2.
Well, and that's okay, right? Then you don't fire, right? You don't,
and that's precisely why
yeah.
That's why I really only like. Look, I'll just say I like Columbus a lot against Boston. I think I'm going to go with that same angle that I did with Buffalo and New Jersey. Columbus, like Buffalo, was playing really well going into the Olympic break, and they also had one of the least amount of players going. Columbus only had 2 players in the Olympics. Boston, like New Jersey, had 7 players in the Olympics, and they're coming. So I'm just looking at it from a similar situation as that Devil Sabre game, and that's why I'm going to take Columbus tonight on the road in Boston against the Bruins. That's really the only one that kind of stuck out to me as kind of an angle thing, because I'm torn on this other stuff. I don't know what to think of these teams playing on the second night of a back-to-back against the teams that haven't played yet. It's a really, now maybe, Doug, early in the night we can see it and apply it to the night game, to the later night games. Maybe we'll catch something there.
Okay. Good.
So, maybe if we see the Panthers struggle against Toronto, or the Penguins struggle against the Devils, or the Lightning struggle, then maybe we can go and apply that to Colorado, Minnesota, or something like that. But I'm not sure. I got no clue how it's going to go with any of them, to be quite honest with you.
Good to be, think like that and acknowledge, and it's just good to continue the conversation with yourself, I guess, or whoever. It's good to just process and absorb and try, just gather, take inventory.
The ESPN does have 2 games tonight at 8 and 10:30. They have the Flyers Rangers. The Rangers obviously were awful going into the break. I don't see how much is going to change there. The Flyers did play last night. Man, the Rangers are favored now. Big -117 against the Flyers. So that's at 8 o'clock. And then the Kings and the Oilers both played last night. They're the late game on ESPN. I think the Kings stink, to be quite honest with you. I know the Oilers blew a lead last night in Anaheim. I'd maybe play the Oilers tonight. Like, they own the Kings also.
Okay.
Regularly. And these teams are both on equal footing. They both played last night. So this is both teams on the second night of a back-to-back. I would maybe lean.
And we touched on the Kings being value on the dog too against these Kings.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Knights.
Yeah, against the Knights. And you know what? Man, gave up 5 goals in the third period. They got shelled in that third period there. Colorado, we went after them last night. They're the other team I'll bring up with you here. They played well in Utah. The game was tight for a little while, and then they blew the doors off and they won 4-2. So they're on a back-to-back at home. Minnesota comes in fresh. Minnesota, of course, one of the other really good teams in the West this year, and they've played decent against Colorado, just looking really quick. They've split with them the first 2 games. So they split the first 2 games with Colorado. Maybe Wild, that's a pretty big number for a really good team in Minnesota, but it is the Avalanche, and I think we learned our lesson last night.
Yeah, but this is a different price, It's a big price.
That's true.
So if you like the fresher team, I could certainly support a +143 play.
This is, out of all these teams tonight that are coming in fresh, and the other teams on a back-to-back, you're going to get the best number with Minnesota out of all these other teams at +143. And they're also probably the best team overall out of any of these teams that are doing that. Carolina's -157. Penguins are -150. Panthers are -159. St. Louis is -137. They're the only team they are the only team, Doug, getting plus money fresh against a team playing on a back-to-back. So everyone else is a favorite who's fresh against the back-to-back team. So you hate going after Colorado, because I did last night with Utah. So you know what? I think I'm going to mark that
PTSD with the Avs.
Yeah,
basically.
I think I'm just going to monitor it, Doug. And if I see that the teams that are fresh come out in those 7 o'clock games against the teams that played last night and have a little bit more juice to them, I think that we can then hit the Wild at 9 o'clock if we think there's a little bit of pattern with that, with the teams coming out fresh.
Okay.
So I think that would be the way I kind of look at that game tonight in the NHL. So we're back on the ice for us this evening. We do have, Doug, before we get to the best bets, the daily double, etc., we have UFC Fight Night coming up this week. Usually Thursday's the day. Mexico City on Saturday night. What do you got for me here, Doug? Who's fighting?
Yeah, I got Brandon Moreno in the main event, and that's really the only one I've got a thorough breakdown in, and I would not lay the big number. 230 is just a massive price. So that's around like 69% conversion. So if you need Moreno in your own eyes to be more than a 68, 69% chance to win for it to have value, and I just don't think that's the case. Again, we talk about this with the futures. Like, what's the worst case scenario? You like Moreno and you didn't bet it and he wins. Okay, you missed a -230 winner. But it's the UFC where dogs certainly bark. This Kavanagh situation's interesting. So he came from the Contender Series. He's 9-0 going into his last fight, but then loses to Charles Johnson. But he won round 1 on the cards with everyone. And he's significantly younger at 26. Moreno, this is not the guy who fought Figueiredo 3 years ago and won a decision. And that's the last decision he won. And the reason I bring up decisions because this fight is favored to go over 4.5 rounds. It's in altitude in Mexico. So I just don't think these guys are going to come out guns blazing. Kavanagh's takedown defense is excellent. Moreno's 32, so he's not like in his 50s or anything silly, but fight-wise, I just think there's more. The value's on the dog here, but I think it goes the distance. So I like, if I'm going to play this, Kavanagh by decisions plus 380. I know what I will not do, and that is bet Moreno at minus 230, 240. Like, I just think that's crazy. I think Kavanagh's better than we saw on the round 2 against Charles Johnson or whatever. And I think Moreno's kind of a passive fighter, so that's why I like it to go the distance. I think Kavanagh's going to win round 1. So if you're into live betting and all that, I think Kavanagh gets round 1. So I just don't think it makes any sense to lay the lumber and all that. So I think Moreno wants to win a decision. That's what he's comfortable with. I think anytime these fighters fight 5-round fights when they're not used to it, kind of throws them off a little bit. So they ease into it. Altitude, maybe someone gets caught. That's always the case. It's definitely not fun to. So Moreno inside the distance, like, I don't see it because Kavanagh's takedown defense is so good, but I could be wrong. I'm just not laying the 230.
You can tell that I'm not the biggest UFC bettor because I saw that ITD come up and I'm going, geez, I hope Doug grabs that inside the distance. There it is. Doug got me. Help me out there with the inside the distance for.
Yeah, it's like an under, right? It's like it's a correlate. It's a parlay. It's a parlay, side and under.
Hasn't been too many for me, but I have been trying to dip my toe in when you get these Saturday night plays that you give us on Thursdays. There you go. Fight night, Mexico City. Kavanagh to win by decision. All right, it is time. The best bets and the daily double for this evening on Betting Weekly Live. You could tell I was a little puzzled by the hockey tonight, Doug, so I'm going away from there this evening. But I love that Cal State Northridge game against the Anteaters of Irvine in the Big West. First place on the line. Both teams in a share of it right now with Hawaii. Northridge has won 7 in a row. Little revenge after Irvine beat them up earlier this season at their place. That place should be rocking tonight for them with the way they've been going. Northridge minus 1.5 for me. Late night Big West hoops.
All right. You seem very convicted on that. I am not convicted on my best bet. Yesterday, I felt very confident. I liked the entire card yesterday. This card, I'm shaky with. But I'm going to go to that under with the Blazers and Bulls. I know it's the Bulls, and they want to get up and down and all that stuff. But this is a big number. And the Blazers, I've had to watch them a little bit lately. They just don't shoot that well. They just don't. And they're different on the road than at home. I think this lands 217, 222, 226. Like, I just don't see it in the high 230s.
I like how you said, I had to watch them lately. I've had to watch the Blazers lately. So for tonight, the daily double. Blazers Bulls under 234.5. CSU Northridge in the Big West minus 1.5 against the Anteaters of Irvine plus 257 for the daily double tonight. Let's go. We had one early in the week on Monday. We've been averaging at least, I think, about 2 a week the last few weeks. Let's get another one here tonight, Doug, so we can go for 3 tomorrow.
Let's roll it. I mean, the old adage is not to talk jinx the pitcher in the no-hitter, but I'm okay talking about stuff and things like that.
We're fine. We've done a good enough job, Doug, that we can talk about it. We can speak.
Yeah, I'm okay with it
freely about all of this. There you go. Northridge in the under 257 tonight. All right, Doug, we are back tomorrow, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific for a big Friday Betting Weekly Live heading into the weekend, where we'll have all that night's NBA and NHL and a huge weekend. We'll go through all the Saturday and Sunday college basketball action. And we got games Friday night too, as I believe Miami of Ohio is going for 29-0 tomorrow night against Western Michigan. So plenty of games for us here. And Michigan, Illinois tomorrow night, Doug.
Well, and we have a bunch of revenge spots over the weekend, too. Arizona's probably going to be laying 9 or so at home against Kansas. And then you got the Zags at St. Mary's.
Virginia Duke as well on Saturday, a really good game. So we will go through all of that tomorrow, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific. Betting Weekly Live, of course, Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow.